Hello. Hi, everybody. I see there's several people already in the webinar, so that is great. Awesome. Hello. Hello. Well, we'll give everybody a few minutes to jump on. We are still a couple minutes early, so I'll just go ahead and introduce myself and more people can jump on, and then we'll go ahead and start. So my name is Megan Martinez, and I work with NewsBank as part of the customer engagement team. And our team is really focused on helping our customers make sure that they're getting as much usage and engagement out of the resources as possible. And that's between both staff and patrons. So we help with things like placing your resources on the website, making sure they have good visibility there. We also help with marketing and promotion materials. So making sure that you have everything you need to get the word out there to your patrons, make sure they know that you have these great resources. And then we also help with product training, which is what I'm doing today. And it's always a pleasure to do these trainings. I love to do these, so it's super fun. Hello, a couple more people jumping on. So we have quite a big group already, so I'm just going to go ahead and start. So today we're going to be running through HeritageHub, and I'm going to talk about some of the new updates that we've made for the collection. We'll go through how to do a search, how to use all of the product features and tools. I'll also jump into the marketing resource center that we have, where we have lots of marketing tools for you. And then I'll be taking questions as well throughout the session and at the end. And I think that will about cover it. So thank you everybody for jumping on. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen and we'll just get started here. So hopefully everybody can see that. Let me know if you can't. But this is HeritageHub. So if anybody has used HeritageHub in the past, this may look a little bit different to you. So we have made updates to HeritageHub very recently. And one of the things that we've done is we have changed this home page. So we've added a new, more diverse graphic, and then we've simplified the search. So now we can search by first name, last name, year of death, and keyword, which we found was a little bit more simple than the previous search options. So that's why this may look a little bit different if you've used HeritageHub in the past. We have also added new funeral home notices to the collection. So previously in the old HeritageHub, we had obituaries and death notices, and that made up the full collection. But now with this update, we have added funeral home notices to the collection. And the reason that we did this is because we've noticed throughout the years that obituaries are becoming less and less used. They're definitely still used today, but we found that people are leaning more towards funeral home notices now. And this is for a variety of reasons. You do have to pay for an obituary in the paper, and funeral home notices, a lot of times you don't. These are also a little bit easier to share on social media or send virtually. So we've just found that these are a little bit more prevalent. So we've added them to the collection to hopefully broaden things, include additional people that may not have a traditional obituary published in the paper now. So yeah, we have a lot more in the collection. It's really exciting. So let's go ahead and try out a search. So there are a couple of different ways that you can search the collection, and I'll cover both of those today. So the first way, and probably the most common way that patrons are going to be using this, is to search for a specific person. So maybe I'm coming in, I have somebody in mind that I want to start with, and then kind of go from there. So to do that, I can enter any or all of this information. You'll notice that none of this is required. So let's say I have somebody that I want to search for, and maybe I do know the first and last name, but I don't know the year of death. That's totally fine. Any information that you have, you can enter here, and anything you don't have, you can just leave blank. None of this is required, so just fill out what you can and kind of go from there. So for the purposes of today, I'll search for my grandmother. And luckily, she has a pretty unique name. Her name was Willie Mae Magnus. And so I'm just going to enter that and search. So I'm not going to enter a year of death or a keyword. I'm just going to go ahead and search. So you can see I have 8 results. She has a very unique name. So now this is the results page. So you can see I've got my results here on the left, and then I do have some options to filter here on the right. So if I did search for a person that had a lot more of a common name, I can use this filter option here to narrow down. So I'll do a search after this for somebody with a more common name, and I'll show you how to filter. But for my grandmother, I only have 8 results, which is very manageable. I can look at all of those and figure out which one is correct. So when I look at this first one here, I can see that this is my local paper, and I can see that this is the correct date of death. So I do know that this is my grandmother. So I have that information here. Then I also have this little preview. So it'll give me this tiny preview here. And then underneath I have this little eyeball preview. So when I click on that, that's going to give me a bigger preview of the obituary. So if I need to read a little bit of it just to make sure that this is the one that I need, I can click on that and read it. And now by reading this, I do know it's her. So I can see that preview. I do have also some of this information here on the right. So it's going to give me her birthday, her date of death, and then her age. So that can help me narrow down as well. And then I have some of these family relationships here. So if I know her mother and father's name, I can confirm that here, her husband's name, and so on. So since I do know this is her, I'm going to click on her here. And now I'm taken into her obituary. So you can see this is her obituary here. It's got her name here at the top. It's got the information about where this was published. So I can see this was published in my local paper. And then I do have a text-to-speech reader. So if I need this article to be read to me, I can do that. It will read it to me and highlight the words as it goes. So if I'm somebody who needs that, that's available for me. And then I also have this family relationships tab here on the right, which is one of the best things about HeritageHub. This makes it super easy to start off as a beginner. If I am somebody who is new to genealogy, maybe I've never researched my family tree before, maybe I don't know a whole lot about my family tree or my ancestors, this gives me a place to start when I'm starting to go backwards in time. So you can see it has my grandmother's name here at the top. It's got her birth date and death date again, and her age. And then these family relationships here, these are going to pull out from the obituary automatically. And so now maybe I don't know her mother and father's name. Now I can see their names here, and I can go back out and search for them afterwards. So like I said, it's a really great place to start. If I don't know a whole lot about my family, or if I don't know a lot about doing genealogy research, now I could go out, for example, and search for her father, and maybe I would find his mother and father's name and go back even further. So these family relationships are really, really great. And they get really in-depth as well. So I have her mother and father. I've got a husband, son. I even have in-laws. So I have daughter-in-law, son-in-law, sister. So these can be really, really helpful. I do also have some options here at the top, some things I can do with this. This first one here is a text size increase. So if I'm looking at this on a phone or a tablet, sometimes that text can be really small. So I can use the text size increase to make it a little bit bigger if I need to. I can also email this obituary. So maybe I'm doing research with my sister and I want to send her this obituary. I could enter her email address here and then mine here on the other side. And then I could write a small message. Hey, I found grandma's obituary. I'm going to send it your way. And I can send it. And the great thing about sending emails like this is that it's going to send the obituary in an open URL format. So I don't have to worry if the person I'm sending it to doesn't have a library card at this library. They're going to be able to open and access this one obituary that I send, no matter what. They're not going to have to log in. They'll be able to open and see it. If they try to go back and access the full HeritageHub collection, it's not going to let them do that. So you don't have to worry about that. It's only going to let them see the specific obituaries that you send. So I hope that made sense. So I could email. I can also print. So I could print it off if I wanted to. I can download. So I do have a couple options for download. I could save it as a PDF, or I could save it to my Google Drive and be able to access it from any of my devices. And then I also have an option to save to a personal folder. So HeritageHub gives users the option to set up a personal folder. And to do that, you just have to sign up with a username and password. It's super, super easy. And then once I have that personal folder created, I can save my obituaries into it and be able to come back to them later without having to redo my search. So let's say I am doing family research and I want to save this obituary. This is my grandmother. So I would save it to my folder and then I could come back to it and access it later. So if I go on to search for her father, her mother, I could save those as well. So I could keep everything all in one spot. And then I can also copy the link. So if I already have an email written up to somebody and I want to just include the link, I could do that, or for whatever I need it for. So that's an example of an obituary. Going back out to this results page. So maybe I'm doing research and I'm trying to go kind of quick. Maybe I don't have time to read every single obituary, or maybe I am helping a patron and they're trying to do some genealogical research and I don't want to have to go through and read every obituary. I just want to send them the ones that look like they might work. I can do that right from this results page. So I don't even have to go into an obituary. I have some of those same tools up here right from the results page. So let's say a librarian is helping me and they're trying to help me find my grandmother. And they say, okay, I think these first two look like her grandmother. So I can select them here on the left. So I've put the little check mark in the box. And now you can see I can do some of those same things right from here. I can email these. So I could send both of these at once. This is great if you want to send a batch email of several different records. So they could send that to me. You can also print them, which again is great if you want to print more than one and maybe I don't want to have to go into each individual one to print. I can print multiple at a time. I can also download and I can save to folder. So if I want to save multiple, I can do that here. Then you can see beside the results option, I have a save search button. So maybe I want to save this entire search. So I only had 8 results and most of these look like my grandmother. So if I want to save the entire search, instead of each individual obituary, I could save the entire search there. I can also create an alert for myself. So maybe I am looking for somebody that has very recently passed, and maybe their obituary is not published yet, or maybe it's not published in all the newspapers that I know it's going to be in yet. I can set an alert for myself, and then I'll get an email if something has been published within my search criteria. So I could enter my email address here. Excuse me. And I can enter as many emails as I want in here. So maybe I do want to send it to my sister as well. So I could enter me and my sister, and then I could select the frequency that I want this alert to come. So if I want it up to 4 times a day or all the way down to just once a week. And so then I will get an email however many times I want, I'll get that alert email if anything has been published. So if the obituary hasn't been published yet, I'm not going to get 4 emails a day saying that there's nothing new. I'm only going to get an email alert when something new has been published. So we're not going to spam you with a bunch of emails, but it can be nice to set up these alerts if you are looking for somebody very, very recent. So that can be helpful. So now let's do a search for somebody who has a lot more of a common name. So I'll search for John Smith, which would be very common. Let's search for John Smith. So instead of my grandmother's 8 results, you can see we have almost 53,000 results, which is way too many for me to go through and find my particular John Smith. So when I do get a results page that has a lot of options like this, the best thing to do is to go over here on the left and narrow down my search as much as I can. So you can see automatically it's going to show me the newest obituaries first. I could change that if I wanted to do best match or oldest. I could change that if I wanted to. Then right underneath, I have this date selector. And so this is nice if maybe I don't know the exact year that this person died, but I do know a general time frame. Let's say I know he died between 2000 and 2019. So I could change the years here and apply. And now instead of 53,000, I have 15,000, which is still quite a bit, but it's a lot less than 53. So like I said, this is really nice if I don't have a specific date of death, but maybe I do know general time frame. I could narrow it down there. And so now I could narrow it down further if I think, oh, okay, well, I know he didn't die in 2019. Maybe it was definitely in the 2010s. So I could narrow it down to just the 2010s. And now I'm at 9,000. So that's the date selector. I can also search specific dates. So if I do know a more specific range, so maybe I know he died in 2003 and it was somewhere in the summer, so anywhere from June to September, I could enter those specific dates here and narrow it down even further. Then I can also filter by source name. So if I know the name of this person's local paper or somewhere where I know their obituary was published or would have been published, I can go through here and narrow down based on paper name. And I can also filter it by location as well. So let's say I know this John Smith passed away in Florida. That narrows it down very quickly and easily for me. So now I have only 355 results. So this is a really great way to narrow down your results when you get a whole bunch. And so now you can see that when I'm narrowed down to just one state, so here I'm in Florida, when I go back down to location, I can narrow it down just to the town. So maybe I know he passed away in Orlando. Now I have 34 results, which is very manageable. I can go through those and find who I'm looking for. So yeah, if you get a result set that is just way too big, consider filtering it down a little bit. Even, like I said, even if you don't know specifics, if you just know a general range, that can really help to narrow it down for you. So that is a little bit more of a common name. Since we did just add the funeral home notices to the collection, I wanted to show one of those just to give you an example of what that looks like. So I'm going to type in one of our funeral home notices. And hopefully we can find this person. So this was a really good example of a funeral home notice. So you can see it was published Arkansas Funeral Home Notices and Obituaries. So the way that we have categorized the funeral home notices is by state. There's no way that we could have entered every single funeral home as a publisher. So we've narrowed it down just to specific states. So you can see that's where it's going to say it was published, Arkansas Funeral Home Notice. And you can see it is quite a bit longer than an obituary. And the reason that is because I think I mentioned before, but obituaries, you do have to pay for a spot in the paper. So basically, you're paying for the real estate on the paper. And so many times families will try to keep the obituary pretty short. That way they're not paying for, half a page or what have you. But the great thing about funeral home notices is that you're not limited by space like that. So many times these funeral home notices will be quite a bit longer. They'll include some more information about the person. So you can see this one talks about his hobbies and things he liked to do, his college. So you'll find sometimes in these funeral home notices that you get a bit more information about the person beyond just when they died, where they died. You'll get a little bit more of their narrative in there. So that can be really interesting to read through. So this is a bit longer of a funeral home notice. So if I was looking just for funeral home notices, I can do that specifically on this A through Z source list here. So if I click on that, this is going to take me to a list of every single source included in HeritageHub. So you can see we have almost 7,500 sources. So if I wanted to search just funeral home notices, I could do that. And remember, we have it filtered by state. So if I just want to look at Arkansas funeral home notices, I can type that in. And now if I select that, I can search within those. So if I'm just looking for a funeral home notice, I could do it that way. Or maybe I want to look at Arkansas and Oklahoma. So if I select that, now I can search between Arkansas and Oklahoma if it'll load. So now you can see I'm searching within Arkansas and Oklahoma funeral home notices. So if there ever was a reason that you wanted to just look at funeral home notices, you could do that there. So let's go back out to the main page. So I mentioned that there are two different ways that you can search the collection. And the first way is when you do know the person's name, which is what we just did. We searched for a specific person and we found their obituary. But another way that you can search the collection that maybe not a lot of people think about is maybe you would want to search for a cohort of people or a certain group of people, maybe not one specific person. So maybe I'm not searching for a first and last name, but maybe I'm wanting to find obituaries on people who passed away on September 11th. So I could enter the year of death as 2001, and then I could enter World Trade Center. And then I could find obituaries published in 2001 that mention the World Trade Center. So another cohort that people might look for is like people associated with a university or certain colleges, things like that. So you can search it in this, little bit of a different way. So we do like to mention that as well. So those are the two ways you can search HeritageHub. Before I jump into the Marketing Resource Center, I will check for questions. So if anybody has questions, there should be a little chat feature. You can just enter them in the chat and we'll try to answer those. So let me open up the chat. Okay, I see a few already. So let me, okay. What is the difference between the old HeritageHub and the new update? Did we lose any records with the update? No. So the new update we have only added. So all of the records that were included in the old HeritageHub, they are still in the new HeritageHub. we have just added content. So we've added the funeral home notices, and we'll be continuing to add those as they're published. So no, everything that we had before, you should still be able to get. What is the difference between a funeral home notice and an obituary? I'm not sure what the difference is. So the difference between an obituary and a funeral home notice, an obituary is one that is traditionally published in the newspaper, and the family will pay for a spot in the newspaper to publish the obituary about the person that passed. So a lot of times these are shorter. Like I mentioned, they have to pay for that spot, so they're trying to keep the information as condensed as possible. They're just giving out the key bits of information. Most of the time, there are, exceptions to that. But so the family would pay for that obituary in the newspaper. The funeral home notice is published by the funeral home that the family is using. Rather than the newspaper, they're using the funeral home to publish the death notice. So these a lot of times are a lot longer. So that one that we looked at, you saw it mentioned his hobbies, his college. Families will elaborate a little bit more in a funeral home notice just because they have the space. They're not paying for the spot, so they're not limited to a certain number of words. So a lot of times these are going a bit more in depth on the person. So I hope that answered your question. Obituary is in the newspaper. It's paid for, so it's a little bit smaller. And then funeral home notice is from the funeral home. And a lot of times those are published online or on social media, something like that. And they are not paid for, so they're a little bit longer, or they can be sometimes. So that is the difference. Okay, one more. What can you give me an example of what would go in the keyword option? Yes. So we have gotten this question before about the keyword option. Sometimes people are not quite sure what that means or what they should include there. So the keyword is really for anything additional that you think might have been included in the obituary. So this could be a middle name, if somebody went by their middle name. This could be the name of a college, if you think somebody's college might have been mentioned. This could be a town that somebody lived in, a relative's name, really anything that you think might help us narrow down our results and that you think is included in the obituary. So it really could be anything. But yeah, those are some examples. And like I said, it's not required. So if you don't have a keyword to enter, you don't have to put one. But it's really just to help narrow it down. So if you are getting a lot of results, so like the John Smith that we did that had like 53,000 results, if we knew the John Smith that we were looking for, if we knew he went to the University of Arkansas, we could enter that and we may be able to find him a bit quicker. Or if we knew his middle name or his wife's name, something like that. Those are examples of keywords. So I think that's all the questions for now. If anything else pops up during the session, feel free to keep entering them in the chat. And if I don't get to them at the end, we will have somebody monitoring the chat. So if I don't end up answering your question, you should receive an email in the next couple of days from somebody that will help you answer your question. So feel free to keep entering them. But now I'm going to show you our Marketing Resource Center. So if we go to newsbank.com and if we scroll down a bit, so we'll go past these graphics here, we'll come to this How We Help section. And here on the left, we have the Marketing Resource Center button here. So when I click on that, I'll have these options. So for today, I'm going to click on Public Library. And then now you'll be taken to all of our marketing resource centers. And this is where we're going to have social media posts, bookmarks, all kinds of stuff to help you promote these collections to your patrons and your community. So for today, if we scroll down, we'll go into the Heritage Hub option here. So now here's the Heritage Hub Center. You can see we do have our new web graphics. So if you are still using the old graphic, that's totally fine. But if you want to update to the new one, we do have that one here in both a larger size and then a square. So you could download the different sizes here. We have some product descriptions if you need them for your website. We have several how-to videos on Heritage Hub. So if I click on this will take me to the full video library. But if I type in Heritage Hub, now you can see we have this quick Heritage Hub tutorial here. I believe this one is about 10 or 11 minutes. But sometimes libraries like to send these to their staff members to watch, or sometimes libraries will also link these videos on the website for patrons if they need help using the resource. They can watch the video. So it can be used both internally and externally for your patrons, however you need to use it. So we do have that. We also have this really great search tips document. So this is a little bit larger of a document. It's 29 pages, but this is going to go through all of those frequently asked questions, troubleshooting, how to do a search, how to modify a search, all kinds of stuff. So a lot of libraries will print this off and keep it like at the reference desk for patrons to use, or somewhere near the patron computers. We've also had a lot of genealogy clubs use this PDF for their members. So if you run a genealogy club or have a club that meets, sometimes they like to have this. So this will answer pretty much any question that you might have about Heritage Hub. So nice to have on hand. Then we have some of these promotion tools. So if patrons don't know that you have a resource, they are not going to use it. So we give you all of these really great promotion tools to help you get the word out there, let patrons know that you have it. And one of the best ways to do that is with our social media. So you have a couple different options here with social media. The first one here is our monthly social media posts. So every single month, our marketing team releases a set of social media posts that are, more general. So they will be featuring like seasonal topics, author birthdays, special things that are happening during the month. So these are a little bit more general. They're not going to be specific to Heritage Hub. So if you do have some of our other resources, this can be a good way to market those as well. So if we jump into the June social media, I'll give you an idea. So you can see it's broken down by categories and then the dates. So you can see for June, we were featuring Juneteenth, World Oceans Day, all kinds of stuff, Father's Day. So now when I scroll down, you can see that I have the post here. So I can just copy and paste. And then I do have a graphic as well. So these are made to be really, really easy for you to use. Just copy and paste and you're good to go. So the links as well, you don't have to change them. They are open URL links. So anybody who clicks on that link will be able to access that one specific article. So you don't have to change the link. Like I said, just copy and paste. So super easy. And then I also have, oops, let me go back. That was the monthly social media. Then I also have these Heritage Hub social media posts. So if I know I want to do a post just on Heritage Hub, I want to focus on promoting this resource, I have these options here. So I can copy and paste these posts and use them to promote Heritage Hub. So with these, you may have to insert your own login link. So whatever link you're using for Heritage Hub on the library's website, you'll just copy and paste that link and put it onto the post, and then you can use it. And we do have a graphic here, so those are great as well. Oh gosh, let's see if it'll let me go back. Okay. Then we have a social media toolkit. So this is a best practices guide for people who are newer to promoting resources on social media. So if you are somebody who runs the library's social media and maybe this is the first time you've started promoting on social media, this will give you some ideas on how to do that. Again, a link to the Heritage Hub video. And this one also mentions that we have these trainings as well in Niche Academy. So all of the videos that are published in that video library that we saw earlier, these will also be in our Niche Academy. So if your library is part of Niche Academy, you can search for our tutorials there. So add those as well. Then we have these bookmarks. So we have bookmarks for all of our resources. You can see here. If I scroll down, we have the Heritage Hub bookmark. So I could download these and print them out and use them at the circulation and reference desks. I could pass them out at upcoming programs. If I do have a genealogy club, this could be a great material to give them. Put them in new library card sign-up kits. So lots of different ways I could use these and promote. And then this last option here, we do have some press release options. So if your library works with your local news station or TV station, and you would like to promote Heritage Hub that way, we do have some templates there and guides for you. So that is the Heritage Hub Resource Center. I always like to show that on these trainings because it's a great way to come in and get some of these materials on your own. Of course, we're always happy to send them to you. You can always email your customer engagement rep or sales rep if you need any of this stuff. But I like to show it because some people like to just go in and grab it themselves. So really, really good tool for you. So that about covers it, I think. Let's jump in and see if there are any final questions. Oh, I see quite a few. Okay, it looks like we're almost at 45 minutes. So I'm going to pick one. And then if there are any left over that I don't get to, somebody will be emailing all of the additional questions and helping to answer those. So don't worry if I don't pick yours. Somebody will answer that for you on email. So let's see. Okay, here's one. I have used Heritage Hub before to search for my ancestors. When I looked for my grandfather, I could not find him. He has. Oh, okay. So this person looked for their grandfather and did not get any results, but I know his obituary should be included because our local paper is in there. Okay. So it sounds like you were looking for your grandfather, but you weren't able to find him, and you think it should have been included in the collection. So sometimes it happens where people will be doing a search for somebody and they're not able to find them, but they know that like their local paper is included in Heritage Hub, so they should theoretically be able to find that person. And there are a couple different things that you could try. So sometimes, I don't know about your specific person, you didn't put a name, but sometimes if your relative has a name that could have different variations in spelling or different ways that it could be written. So I'm just thinking of like William. If your relative has a name like William and maybe they went by Bill or Will, um, or if they have an unusually spelled name and it could have been spelled incorrectly. Sometimes you can try searching for those name variations, and that will help you pull somebody up. You can also play around with the year of death. So if you didn't enter a date of death, you could try entering one. Or like I showed before, you could enter a range of dates. So even if you don't know the specific year of death, you could enter that range and see if that pulls them up. Um, Sometimes too, the keyword option can be helpful. So if you have something that you think might have been included, you could enter that as well. Um, so yeah, thinking about name variations, different ways that things could be spelled, sometimes broadening the date of death search can be helpful. So if you have entered a specific date and nothing's coming up, you could broaden it to just a year, and sometimes that will pull people up. So that's a couple of different things to try. But also, if you are looking for somebody and you're unable to find them, we're always happy to help you look. So you can email your customer engagement rep if you know their email, or you can email the general team. So that email is customerengagement@newsbank.com. And your rep will be able to reach back out to you and help you with the search. You can also email your sales rep and they'll connect you with us. So if you are ever having trouble like that and you need somebody to kind of be a second pair of eyes, we're always happy to do that. So just let us know. So we have run a little bit over time, so I'm going to go ahead and wrap up. I do see a couple more questions, so if that's you, just know that one of us will be reaching out to you and helping you answer that question. Um, Thank you, everybody, for attending. Again, it was such a pleasure to do it. We love doing these. If anybody has any additional questions, anything that comes up after the session, feel free to email us. You can email customerengagement@newsbank.com, and one of us will reach back out to you. You can also, like I said, you can message your sales rep and they can connect you with us as well. So yeah, anything that comes up, let us know. We're always happy to help. So thank you guys so much for attending. You guys were a blast. I appreciate it. And I hope that this was helpful in helping you use Heritage Hub and help your patrons to use it as well. So I appreciate you. Thank you, everybody, and have a good one. Bye.